Hello and welcome back. This is Ajinkya. So in the last video, we implemented a Redux Toolkit application, which is like this cute, happy fella, which is a cute cat. In this video, we are going to write tests for our React application, which is using Redux. So before going further, let's just refactor a few of the things because they are going to help us writing better tests for us. So I'm going to create a new folder over here. I'm going to call it Redux. And inside this Redux, I'm going to have a file over here called store.js. Okay. And this store.js is basically our store, which is this guy. So I'm just simply okay. All right, let's just also move this mood inside Redux. Always update yes. Okay, and I'm just going to say save all. So I'm going to remove this store from here and move it to store. And I'm just going to call this export store. So we have our mood. Let's see if this is correct path. So store has mood. We don't need this. And this is fine. Okay. So let's just also export like the store again over here, which is store. And this should work. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So refactoring further inside our store. If this was a TypeScript application, you would have to define type for your store, which would have been something like this, like export type app store, and it would have been something type of store dot this store dot oh no, sorry, for app. I'm so sorry. So for app store, this would have been the type of things. So for mood, we have to have the mood type over here. And the previous thing which I was mentioning, that was going to be for app dispatch, which would be something like type of store dot dispatch. But since we are not using TypeScript, let's just remove all this. Okay. So we still have to create few more things over here, which are going to be beneficial for us. So do you see we are using use dispatch and use selector. That is what we are going to replace now. All right. Also, the things which we are going to do now, they are going to help us write better tests. Because now if you try to run the test now, npm test, it will fail, but you'll see why. Yeah. So it is saying that we have to wrap our application with a provider. So if you notice this app.test, it is just an app. So that is why we are writing tests. That is why we are writing this helper things over here. So the first thing is export. I'm just going to call this as, so since we are going to replace this use dispatch first, so I'll call it use app dispatch, and let's just call this as use dispatch. Okay, which is from React and Redux. And the next one is export cont. So this is for our selector. So let's just call this same thing, use app selector, and let's just call this use selector. Okay, and let's see. So now inside our application, rather than using use dispatch, we're going to delete this too, and I'm going to call use app dispatch, and instead of this use selector, we're going to call use app selector. Okay, perfect. So now when we go to the test, they're still failing. They're still failing over here, right? So how do we fix them? Okay, so there are few things I'm quickly going to move. I'm going to move this from store to have it there as a separate file inside Redux. So I'm just going to call this file as Redux hooks.js, and also move this. And inside the app, instead of using this from store, this will be Redux hooks. Okay, and let's say this is working. Yeah, it is working fine. And let's just write one more utility function that is purely going to be helpful only for writing tests. I'm just going to write that inside Redux. So let's just call this as new test app selector .js. All right, and I'm going to export a constant over here called const test use app selector is equal to, which expects you to pass a function, and it returns you the function with the state. So what is that state? So that state is going to be this const state is equal to, in our case, we just need mood, which is just an empty string right now. Okay. And if you had multiple users, they would come over here, maybe user with some object, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you get the idea. So this is the entire state. We are just returning the state. That's it. And back to writing tests. Okay, so the benefit of moving our use app dispatch and use app selector to a different file is, you remember we are using these two hooks over here, right? So it would be easier to mock them. So now if we go back to app.test, I'm just simply going to import them over here, and you'll see we were facing some error. We were facing some error related to the provider, and that is where this hooks are going to help us mock that. So I'm just going to say jest.mock. I'm going to mock this entire path. Okay. Also, I'm going to convert this to a describe. I prefer describe. And I'm going to call this app. Okay. And this test becomes it. And over here, the magic happens. Before each, so inside this before each, we have to mock the app selector. So the dot mock implementation. And remember, we created that test app selector. We are just simply going to import that over here. So we'll just call this test app selector. We don't have to mock use dispatch. That will be just simply just a function now, because we are using just.mock. Okay. So let's just keep it. Let's see if we can write further test on this. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So yes, what is this saying? Use dispatch. Okay. I think this should not be there. Okay, I think it's That was an old error. Okay, so yes, perfect. Now our app is working fine. It is not able to find this text called learn React. Okay, so the reason for that is, of course, that learn React text is not there anymore. We can, if you want to satisfy this test, we can just simply pass this text inside our app and just add it to a new section. Okay, learn React. And let's see if our tests are passing now. Okay, hooray, the tests are passing now because it is able to find that particular text. Okay, so this is working perfect, awesome. So what we did over here to fix the test was, all we did was we did that mock. It's also a good idea after each to clear your mocks, so that when you write one more test case, you will have a fresh mocks available to you. So you should also write just dot clear all mocks. Okay, after each. So what we did over here was we just moved our hooks, which is use dispatch and use app selector, inside Redux hooks, so that it becomes easier for us to mock this use app selector. Okay, and this is working. Let's write one more test where if I click on any of this button, it dispatches something. So that is what we are doing over here. So whenever you click on something, something should happen. So handle update mode will call dispatch, which eventually calls this update cat mode action. Okay, so let's see how this is working. I have not planned this part, but let's see. So what I'm targeting over here. Also, let's just move this to double quotes. Yes, so it should call dispatch. Okay, not a good line, but just for the sake of this writing this test. So I need to find this button. Right now this button is saying sad, and let's see. So this is a button and data type of shocked. Okay, so screen. So let's just first of all find that button. btn is equal to screen dot screen dot get by text. So the button which we are looking for is happy. Okay, and const. So to trigger this button, we have to call something called user events. And you can also use fire event, but user event is preferred. User event, which is available because of the React testing library. User event dot click. We just have to click on this particular button, which is this button. Okay, and whenever this button is clicked, expect that app.useDispatch should have been called. So if I click on the button, it will call this handle mode update function, which will eventually call this dispatch. Okay, and let's see what is happening now. Expect use app dispatch dot to have been called, Okay, let's see. Okay, testing unable to find that particular element text happy. Yes, I forgot to call the render. All right, so what is the new error now? All right, so we are facing this issue because of this particular function, which is dispatch. And it clearly says dispatch is not a function. Uh, it should work, right? Because we are mocking this entire path, and whenever you mock an entire path, automatically whatever is being exported becomes is equal to jest.fn. So it's use at dispatch should work by default. But the reason for that is you do see that use at dispatch is working fine, but it is executed and then dispatch should be a function. So this is like a kind of a dispatch should be a closure, which is what we have to mock over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we have, so to keep it short, we have to mock use at dispatch to have a closure. Okay. So I'm going to add enter use app dispatch dot mock implementation. Okay, so this is a function which returns a function. So in this case, we can just simply say jest.fn, which is a function, but we don't want to execute this. We just want to return the function. Okay. All right, so it works. But if you notice something, if I just do like try to do a log over here of update cat mode, and let's see what is this. So this is definitely going to be the name of this method update cat mode followed by the reducer's name. Yep. So this is perfect. And if I do one more console log over here for the update cat mode, this would be our action creator, type and payload. Yes. So this is what we need to test if this was correctly called with our reducer or not. Oh, by mistake, I just closed the test. So let's just remove all these console logs. And when I go inside app, expect use app dispatch dot to have been called with. Let's see. The reason this is working because we are mocking use at dispatch, but we are kind of calling this function and it is calling this function. Okay, how do we test this? So this is clearly a wrong test. Use dispatch was called even before clicking on this handle click, right? So this is just being called over here. Even whenever you just, so to test this, I can just simply omit this part and the test will still pass. Okay. Now what I need to do is, so do you receive this, that we are creating this dispatch function over here? We are just going to do simply the same thing over here. Const dispatch, you can call this whatever, XYZ. I'm just going to match the names over here. Dispatch is equal to jest.fn. Okay, and make sure to execute this fn. So we are going to pass this over here. All right, and now we should test if use dispatch to have been called with, and let's say this is working. Okay, perfect. This is what we were expecting. Always try to fail your tests and then like test them. So of course the type is mood, because that is the name of our reducer, mood dot abate cat mood, and the payload is, that is what we sent. So payload is when we click on happy, we send happy. And it should pass. So that's it from this video. I know this wasn't like a very huge React testing library course, but you can already see the benefits of using Redux Toolkit. Writing tests are really easy and fun. And thanks for watching. In the next video, we'll try to implement create async thunk. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And please do like my videos. It really motivates me to create more and more videos for you. Thank you. Bye bye.